Hi, everyone. Welcome to Designing Your College Life in LA. I am your host for tonight. My name is Mimi Sue, and I am the Director of Merchandising and Marketing here at FIDM. Before becoming director, I was an instructor, and before that, I was a FIDM student, just like you will be. After graduating from FIDM, I moved to New York City for an opportunity with Marie Claire magazine before transitioning into buying, first at Saks Fifth Avenue and then at Christian Dior. I am happy to be back not only in sunny Southern California, but also at FIDM, where I now help prepare our students for their dream careers, just like it has for me. So this event is a big welcome for you to FIDM, our culture, to housing, and the beautiful city of Los Angeles. Our goal is to make you feel at home and ready for this next big step in your life. So before we begin, let me give you the agenda for today, plus a few housekeeping items. So first, we're going to begin with a few interviews. We're going to hear from a few people who know the campus, the culture, the housing, and LA very well. They're going to be your guides to everything that you need to know. Then after our interviews, we're going to open up the floor to all of you, inviting you to turn your cameras on so that you can chat face-to-face with our guides and each other. So when that time comes, I will invite you to raise your Zoom hand so that my team can promote you to a panelist. And then you're going to need to opt into that invitation so that they can adjust your permissions to enable your camera. So let's practice a little bit. Let's test out our Zoom hands by asking everyone to find the raise hand option at the bottom and click it. Does everybody see that Zoom hand? Okay, nice. I see a couple hands. Okay, perfect. So that's what you're going to click on later, okay? All right, and then one more quick note, feel free to send your love and comments in the chat. But if you have a burning question, please use the Q&A button for that, as it's going to be a little bit easier for me to keep track of them there. Okay, I think we are ready to start. So for our first interview, I would like to welcome Jonna Hughes. So Jonna is the content director for DCBID, which stands for Downtown Center Business Improvement District. She is responsible for the newsletter that they send out, which I think we'll hear more about that shortly. Jonna is also an LA resident and has a wealth of good advice to share with us. Jonna, welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, we're so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. First, would you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So like Mimi said, my name is Jonna Hughes. I work for the Downtown Center Business Improvement District, which, to give you a really quick definition of that, we're basically a place-based nonprofit that specializes in helping promote downtown LA through marketing efforts, but also through offering some supplemental efforts to the city for safety and cleanliness for the downtown area. So a lot of different things. But I personally work for the marketing side of things. So I do all of the creative content stuff. So event recaps, restaurant reviews, the newsletter, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But personally, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm not from Los Angeles originally. I've been here about 8 years now. But I went to school in downtown Chicago, so I completely understand what it's like to go to school in a really huge city.
Yes. Okay, so it sounds like you're not originally from LA, which is similar to, I think, many of the guests in our audience tonight. So could you tell us a little bit about your personal experience acclimating to the city?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, Chicago is the first stop. So I really kind of got that like first, out of my parents' house experience living in that city, which is definitely, I think the biggest thing that I learned was a lot of safety stuff. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but kind of just common sense, as well as like really, there's just such an amazing, once you bypass that, there's this amazing wealth of opportunity for you to take advantage of in cities. And I know, like for me, when I first came here, I was a grad student. And so I didn't have a lot of money to be going out and doing things and spending a lot of money on food or shopping or whatever. So Los Angeles and specifically downtown is such a perfect area for that. It's such a walkable area. So I didn't have to worry about Ubering everywhere. There's a lot of really cool free events and things like that. Um, so it took a little bit, but once you acclimate, it's like one of the most exciting feelings in the world to realize
Mhm.
all of this in front of you to take advantage of.
Yeah. So you mentioned safety. So let's talk a little bit about that. As a young woman, how do you feel walking around downtown?
Yeah, so I live in downtown Los Angeles. I work down here. My gym is down here. So I'm constantly walking. All the bars and restaurants and everything that I do, I walk as well. I personally feel safe walking around downtown LA, and maybe that's because I lived in a big city before. I will say that to me, downtown LA is going to be no different as a young woman or anybody walking around than any major downtown city center.
Hmm.
It's like the same rules are going to apply no matter if you're here or you're in New York or in Chicago. Like, you have to have street smarts, you have to have common sense, you have to have your wits about you. You can't, this isn't a small town. So but I really think that, like, personally, because I'm used to the city, I'm feel very safe walking around. I walk around by myself all the time.
Yeah. Um, I have to share that, I live downtown as well, and same, I feel very comfortable walking around, downtown, but also to your point, I agree with you. It's no different than any kind of big city around the world, you having lived in Chicago, me having lived in New York. So I totally get what you're saying. So what systems are in place to keep students safe?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can speak a bit to the services that my organization provides. So we have a safety team, they're really fantastic, really great people. And it's a 24-hour, 7 days a week safety hotline. And I can add the link to the chat afterwards, but anybody can call them and they can come help with any type of situation you might find yourself in, especially because I know it's pretty intimidating to, like, call the police or something if you feel unsafe, or maybe if you see something and you're not sure, what the deal is. Like, you don't want to call the police. So the DC bid 20, oh, thank you. The 24-hour response will come and help you with whatever it is that you might need help with.
That's amazing. And thank you, Lei, for sharing all that info in the chat. So next question is, everyone knows what an incredible city Los Angeles is. I mean, there's just so much culture, so much diversity, so many fun events, amazing food, spots to visit. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what you love about LA and what they should be checking out when they get here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's such a hard question because there really
I know.
so much, and that's like exactly what my job is like telling everybody about all of the amazing things to do. So I know that they have some things on the screen right now, and these are all really fantastic suggestions. So
Mhm.
as college students, like, of course, you're going to be wanting to probably prioritize things that are cheaper or free. And so things like the Broad and Mocha, all of these amazing art museums have free entry. And then one other event that like is really fun that I love going to, like, personally, is the First Fridays event at the Natural History Museum. It's like, I think it's $20 for entry. It's free for members, but they have live music. KCRW brings in like really fantastic bands, and you can walk around the museum after hours, see a live concert. It's super fun. And I know that Grand Central Market does the same thing on Fridays as well. They have free music there,
Mhm.
food, walk around, see free music. There's a million parks that are really fun in downtown that have frequent events. And then, of course, as I'm sure many of you are aware, downtown LA is probably the epicenter of LA dining, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So if you're into food, this is definitely the right neighborhood to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's like 8 Michelin star restaurants in downtown alone.
It's crazy. I actually live in a building with a Michelin restaurant in on the first floor, and it's
Oh, no big deal.
so surreal. It's like to walk out and see that. But yeah, and even if you're not looking for like something, Michelin level, like there's
Mhm.
so many fantastic places. Like we were talking earlier about the Sados and Sonora Town and all of these fantastic
Yes.
affordable spots. Um, which I don't know if this is the right time for me to plug the newsletter,
Oh,
but
yes, please do.
so I know newsletters kind of sound outdated, but I promise you it's very cool. So I curate all the content that we put in it every week, and it's restaurants that I would recommend. And sometimes I do like adventures of the week where like I suggest like a full day of stuff for you to do, whether it's like waking up and getting coffee and going to an event at a bookstore that week, and then finding affordable dinner afterwards. Like this week, we had a newsletter go out today that had a bunch of suggestions for at home, like rainy day, like weekend night activities.
Oh.
And then in March, we're going to be launching a column where people can write in and ask me specific questions about places that they might be looking for or experiences that they really hope to have. Like a friend just asked me, like, I want to go to the LA Central Library. Can you suggest like where I should park, what I should eat? Like, do they do tours, stuff like that?
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah.
So it's that specific.
If you want, yeah. So the column will be very specific. So we wanted to like offer like tailored advice to people that were looking for that.
Okay, very nice. Okay, one final question. In addition to the newsletter, which sounds like a great resource, I haven't signed up for that. What final kind of last piece of advice can you give to our audience, soon to be LA residents, about navigating the city, getting comfortable, and making LA their home?
Absolutely. I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give everybody is to keep an open mind about like the neighborhood that you're moving into. I know it's probably very different for some people, but I mean, this place is amazing. It's super fantastic. There's always good things to be found if you have an open mind, new experiences to be had. Of course, be safe and be smart.
Mhm.
But besides that, like just be open to all the different experiences that come your way, even if they sound a little bit like outside of what you might normally do. Like all of the things that I've done over the past year that I normally wouldn't do have ended up being some of the favorite things that I've experienced.
Mm.
So
Wow, very good advice. Well, thank you so much, Donna, for sharing your story and tips with us. I know you're signing off now, so have a beautiful evening, and I will see you around the neighborhood.
yes, definitely.
All right. Okay. So now I would like to introduce everybody to Parker Wild. So Parker is a FIDM alumnus. He holds an AA in apparel industry management and a bachelor's in graphic design. Parker used to be a resident advisor and is now an on-site manager. So naturally, he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to housing. Parker, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so would you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Parker Wild. I am currently the on-site property manager for FIDM Housing here at Broadway Palace. But like Mimi said, I've been many things, including a student, a resident, an RA, and I'm having a ton of fun nowadays being an alumni working in the industry in graphic design and getting to still help FIDM along with some of these really cool events. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, we're excited to have you. So, okay, so first question, how is FIDM housing different from, let's say, living in a dorm?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay, so two big key differences stand out to me in the sense of one, you are living at a apartment complex that is not owned by FIDM, but is owned by different companies in downtown. So you kind of get the feeling of living inside the city without the true connection of school.
Mhm.
A lot of the neighbors, either upstairs, downstairs, right or left of you, are all going to be LA tenants. So it's definitely geared for more of that transitional living style into independent living rather than dorm living.
Mhm.
I have some photos and a video in a second, but everyone will see that you have, a kitchenette. There's no cafeteria that FIDM offers, so there's lots of home cooking. There are lots of walk-in closets. You're not having to share a bathroom with the entire hall of a traditional kind of college. So there are a lot of perks with FIDM housing in that retrospect.
Okay. On that note, what are some of the properties and tell us what they're like?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So I have lived at 3 out of the 4 of them. I have worked at all 4 of them throughout my time at FIDM. So
Oh, wow.
the first on screen was the Met. That one's our closest to campus. It's just directly across the street. We also have G12, which is 3 blocks from campus. It's a property. I lived there when I was first a student and had the pleasure of being an RA for many quarters. I currently still live at Broadway Palace. We have the majority of our students living at Broadway Palace. It is our largest property that we have leased units out of. And then we also have another complex currently titled The Level. That's a block away from campus as well. We kind of take that complex on every once in a while, depending on the size of students. But all of them are stunning. They're all about roughly the same size. We have students who love the properties. They have such great amenities. They're all very similar, but also couldn't be different in stylistic design edits.
Yeah, I don't know. All those properties look a lot chicer than the dorms at my college, I have to say.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you actually live at Broadway Palace currently. Yes?
I do. Yep.
And then I think you have like a video for us that you want to share.
I do, absolutely. Yeah. So we have a little kind of walkthrough tour of Broadway Palace specifically. We have a ton of great amenities. It's such a large complex, so much so it's broken up into a north and south property. Students have both. And for instance, if you were to live here, you have access to both. So I mean, we have great lounges for students to escape from their apartment to do homework or projects with other classmates, or late night kind of crams for finals week. We have a plethora of pools and gyms. We have even a screening room and movie theater room.
Oh, wow.
It's super outdoor and indoor complex styles. So students get the wonderful weather of downtown Los Angeles when they are sitting out by the beach, the pool. Feels like the beach, honestly. We have views of downtown from upstairs on the 11th floor, our gym. And then this is kind of a little brief of what the apartments look like. Our student housing unit currently. So all of the furniture is provided, the internet is provided. A lot of what you pay for in the housing fee is all included, including, water, heating, utilities, amenities is all covered. I have a lot of parents and students, when I give them tours, ask about that. So all you really have to worry about is just bringing your pots and pans, your bedding, your sewing machine if you're interested, and everything else is kind of given to you. So they're 2 bedroom, 2 bath. So each apartment has a primary suite flanked from both sides of the living room, with both walk-in closets, full-size bathrooms with showers and bathtubs included as well. We also have in-unit washer and dryers at Broadway Palace, which is really helpful. We have the same thing at G12 in the Level as well. So it's really great to be able to do your laundry right inside the unit. It really does kind of feel like a little oasis from school, in the perspective of getting to leave and come home to what feels like your own apartment. We provide desks for students, so if they need to do homework or sewing projects as well. So everything that you can imagine, it definitely feels like home. Students definitely decorate crazy. So they're able to really kind of bring their personalities and even their majors to life in these apartments.
Wow. Excuse me, but walk-in closets. I mean, these are definitely better than my college dorm.
Yes, exactly.
So how does it work? Do students get to choose like their favorite property to live at right away? How does that work?
I wish I could say yes to that. I think that's kind of the fun of student housing. So students are placed initially wherever we have available space. And so students don't get the option to request a property upon initial entry to the housing program. But after their first quarter, if they're placed at a certain property and they love it, and they love their roommates as well, they can request to stay where they're placed. Or, if they've made friends or got an opportunity to tour a different complex and property, they're also able to, request a transfer or a move as well.
Okay, nice. And then let's talk about roommates. How do you get paired with a roommate? What's the process?
Same exact. It's going to be completely random. It sounds a little scary. We don't do a questionnaire. That's kind of another difference from a traditional kind of dorm. I have what I like to think is a very successful story in the sense of I got to meet people from all different parts of the world. I first lived with someone from the UK, someone from Hungary. I've lived with someone from Honduras. And all of them are different majors as well, which I think is a really fun aspect of FIDM housing. I didn't get to just be placed with like-minded students in the sense of they're all my classmates, but these are people and peers I get to create networks with, connections with for the future, and kind of share additional paths and journeys of FIDM that I wouldn't have typically gotten if I got to request somebody specific, for instance.
Yeah, that's so true. What advice do you have for maybe some of our people in our audience have never had a roommate. So what's some advice for having roommates for the first time?
Oh, totally. Open-mindedness, I think, is a key thing. Common courtesy is kind of a good rule to live by. You know, the golden rule they teach in elementary school, like treat people how you want to be treated. This is definitely a time where there's going to be a lot going on. You're going to be focused on acclimating to a city, acclimating to a new kind of academic schedule, but it's also a really good time to learn what different lifestyles are like, how people live their lives, how you want to live your life. I know that being a roommate along with living with a roommate takes time to change kind of how your living habits are, especially from moving away from home. So just go in with an open mind and have fun, and it's okay to change throughout this time also.
And then what advice do you have for second quarter roommate planning? So how do students get into the situation that they really want?
Yeah, for sure. Students, so after your first quarter is when you get to request specific roommates. I kind of said that if you're placed with people you love initially, you can request to stay with them. Maybe throughout your studies or through some of the events that the RAs throw, you meet other students, you're able to jot their names down as long as they kind of jot yours down as well. We try to accommodate all of the requests as possible, and that's how we get those perfect pairings and students get to live with who they want to live with.
Okay, I have more questions. Are you ready? I have so many questions. So advice for incoming students: what should students expect as they go into housing for the first time?
Kind of that rule that, you know, it's not going to be a dorm. It's going to be an apartment. You're going to need to bring a lot more than, you know, a traditional college in the sense of a bunch of kitchen stuff, things to do your laundry with. There's a big packing list that comes with moving into FIDM housing. But it's also a very exciting time that we don't have kind of that policing nature of living in a single dorm building. There's a lot more freedom that comes with getting to do what you want in your apartment, how you live your weekends. I would just say come excited, because that excitement can be overwhelmed really quickly with all things school, but definitely have you know, fun living in student housing. It's a really good time.
Okay, nice. So I know you used to be an RA when you were a student, a resident advisor. Is that something that you recommend? How was that experience?
I loved it. I kind of came in at the perfect time. You know, I joined in the fall when we have a huge number of students coming from high school, so there was a big demand for RAs as well. It was a very easy application process. You speak with the director of housing, have an interview, but the job itself is so rewarding. I've met so many different people and students and residents. Some of the residents I've had are now RAs. It's a very social job. It's an important job, making sure that you're there for the students, you're there for conflict resolution, for guiding them around Los Angeles, the acclimation of the city. I really enjoyed the job. It's time consuming, but if you're willing and if you're a social person, it's definitely something I would recommend to anybody and everyone.
Yeah, it sounds like a real leadership role.
Oh, through and through.
Nice. Okay, one more question. I want you to spill your secrets. What is the secret to success in FIDM housing?
Ooh, a secret to success.
Yes.
That's a good question. The secret, I think, is being authentic. I think there's a lot of stress with moving and wanting to reinvent yourself, and none of that is bad, but I definitely think, you know, making genuine connections with people, whether that turns into a future roommate or who your current roommates are, meeting people and networking. FIDM uses the word networking anywhere and everywhere they can, and it kind of applies everywhere, especially FIDM housing. But yeah, just be yourself. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable and explore that uncomfortability in Los Angeles in the housing program. And I think everything will go your way if you embrace it.
Oh, I love that. Yes, that's the secret sauce. Well, thank you, Parker, for enlightening us all on housing. Would you mind sticking around for a little bit and coming back towards the end to meet and greet our guests tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So stay tuned, stand on by. All right, so I have one more special guest for you today. Naomi Carueta is currently completing her AA in Visual Communications at FIDM. Naomi also works in student activities and is very involved on campus. She's going to be our expert today on all things student life. Naomi, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And would you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. My name's Naomi. I am originally from Los Angeles, but I moved away and I grew up in Canada. I transferred to FIDM in July. I transferred into the visual communications major. Since my time here, I've become an RA and I started working at activities. And I like to just, be involved as much as I can at FIDM.
Oh, nice. Well, welcome back to LA. We're happy to have you back. So let's talk a little bit about culture, shall we? How would you describe FIDM culture in general?
I would say that FIDM culture is definitely very unique from traditional college or university experience. Whether it's in how people express themselves, everyone is super personal in what they do, whether it's at school or just how they dress. And it's also a really inspiring atmosphere to be in. Everyone is clearly working towards bettering themselves in some way. And I would say that makes it super inspiring.
Nice. What is it about the culture at FIDM that makes you feel like you belong?
I would say all the opportunities. There's so much to do, whether it's, if you want to be part of a club, if you want to start a club, if you want to get involved in the industry through finding internship via the Career Center, there's so much to do. So you really can't get lost.
So I know that you work for student activities. So tell us, what is happening at FIDM? What is there to get involved in?
For sure. Well, Mode is one of the clubs that everyone seems to gravitate towards, the student-run magazine. This is a great opportunity if you want to be a writer, photographer, model, stylist, anything really. We have Future Leaders of Beauty. That's a club that I know is revamping itself right now. They're opening it up to everyone, even those who aren't in the beauty major.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, super inviting. There's Phi Theta Kappa, as well as Black Student Union, and the list goes on. I think there's also Student Veterans of America.
Yes.
Yeah, so many.
So lots of ways to get involved. I've seen the, when I go into the student activities calendar online, I mean, there's something like every day. So there's always a student activity to participate in, right?
Definitely. We always have things happening around campus.
Very nice. So let's talk a little bit about school life balance. I know you are incredibly busy. It sounds like you wear a lot of hats. What have you learned about school life balance that can help our audience as they're starting out?
I am pro planner, pro write down your tasks, to-do list. I say that to everyone. I think I'm most successful when I have a clear idea of what it is that I have to do and I have it kind of like right in front of me. So my biggest tip would just be to write it down, find a way to pencil in the time or like a little note about where you have to be and when you have to be there, just to keep yourself organized and also to kind of like relieve any stress that you may have.
It sounds like it's good practice for like the real world.
Exactly.
Now let's talk a little bit more about belonging. What advice do you have for our incoming students on how to quickly acclimate to FIDM life and to find their place?
Great question. I would say don't be shy about, going up to someone, whether it's in a class or
Mhm.
if you want to wander into student activities and ask a question about what's going on around campus. I think that for the most part, everyone wants to make friends, everyone wants to find somewhere they can, belong.
Mhm.
I would definitely say don't be shy about reaching out to those around you. And if not, just wander into student activities, or even if you're in the student lounge and you see someone just sitting around, you can be like, hey, how are you? What's your major? This is who I am. And people are pretty engaging and they like to talk too.
Yeah, that's such a good point because if you're feeling shy, maybe the person sitting next to you is also feeling the same way. So if you take the initiative to make a friend, I'm most likely they want the same, right?
Totally.
Well, thank you so much, Naomi, for sharing your insight with us.